Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the Part-Time Avenger. That is Mark, the Resident Jedi.
Hello there. Today we're here, we're dancing, we're spinning, we're breaking toes because we're here fighting like a girl, talking about Ballerina.
Fighting like a girl. What a catchphrase, and almost kind of a bullshit phrase, right? Like, just fight. How about just fight? Just fuck it. Just fight.
In the movie, it's like dirty fighting because you just start kicking people in the balls. So maybe I'll start doing when I'm fighting people now. I'm like, fight like a girl and kick them in the ball. Like, that's my purse.
It was an interesting tagline, but it made sense. I'm glad that they actually addressed that fairly early on in the movie because Ana de Armas, as the ballerina, she's like 5'0" and she maybe weighs 125 pounds. That's a big maybe. I'm going to guess even smaller than that. But yeah, how do you expect her to muscle her way into the John Wick universe? Before you answer that question, I want to rewind it back, and I want you to talk about your origin with the John Wick series.
I remember the first movie because it came out like 2014. I don't know if I saw it in theaters or not, but I remember watching it. I was like, oh, this is a good story. And they finished the story. Great. And then, the next one came out in like 2017 and I didn't watch it. The whenever that came out in 2019 and I was like petulant about watching it because I hadn't seen the other one. And I'm like, how did this warrant two sequels when they ended the story? What's going on? And then last year or 2 years ago now, 4 came out and the person sitting across from me on the other screen, you're not sitting across from me, you're sitting across the country from me, twisted my arm into catching up and watching the rest of them. Not disappointed about that decision whatsoever. Solid movies, good action, not like my favorite kind of action, but very impressive for a man of that age to Baba Yaga his way through a bunch of people. So enjoy the universe. Was not objecting from seeing this movie. Went willingly within the first week of release. So there's that. The one thing that I had to do in preparation for this is figure out when the hell this was taking place. I watched 3 and 4 before going to see this.
Oh, cool. Good for you. You watched the best one,
Preparation.
and then the next best one, and then
the first one's the best one. The first one's
debatable. The story is the best in the first one.
It's all about the story,
That's
Dan.
what it is. Not in these movies, man. I'll tell you what, it's not about in these movies, and I don't say that disparagingly. But yeah, so my origin with the John Wick movies, I went to go see this in the theaters for the first John Wick movie with my wife. I had no idea what it was about, but I saw that Keanu Reeves had a new movie coming out. And all of the headlines and the social media stuff that I was reading all revolved around Keanu Reeves gets revenge for a dog. And I was like, what the hell is this movie? So I was like, all right, I'm going to check it out. The synopsis gave very little away, but it's like, all right, I'm down to see this. Took my wife to see it. And I knew from the very first action scene that this was something different. This was exactly what I was looking for, and it just amped up. After every other scene, every other movie, the action just kept getting better, more elaborate, more crazy, more ridiculous, but also more impressive. So that's kind of where I'm at with the John Wick universe in terms of the movies. Second, third, fourth, saw them all in the theater. Most of them I saw multiple times with the exception of 2. But the only iteration that you did not mention that I also watched was the Continental, which was a Peacock exclusive. And good God, Mark, did you see that?
I did not see that. And you didn't see John Wick on Valentine's Day because it came out October 24th of 2014.
Did it? Okay.
It did.
Well,
it did.
It was
saw
a date
for
night.
Halloween.
It was a date
You wore
night.
a suit. It was great. But talk to me about the Continental, because now, after seeing this, I was like, "Ooh, should I watch this?" And it sounds like
It sounds like shit, because it is, and I shouldn't say it's shit, but it is not the same universe as John Wick. Even though it's intended to be, they did not collaborate or work with Chad Stahelski. Even Ian McShane, who plays Winston, and this isn't focused on an earlier version of his character, said they didn't go to him about anything. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even speak like Winston in the movie, so it's kind of weird. If you're a big fan of the John Wick series and a purist, and I say that word because I think that's where the difference will be. You can like John Wick and the movies, but if you are a purist, you're not going to like the Continental. The action, when it happens, isn't that great. It's not the same caliber of John Wick. And so that's what I was concerned about with going into the Ballerina. Because you had Len Wiseman, who did the Underworld movies, and the Underworld movies are popular. I don't know if he did all of them, but he did some of them. And he did Live Free and Die Hard, I believe. I never saw that, but it never really grabbed me. So I was like, okay, they at least brought in an action director. Action was serviceable in those movies, but I knew from that action it wasn't going to be the same, or I felt it wasn't going to be the same type of action as John Wick in 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's where I was skeptical. What about you? Did you have any expectations? I know you saw this willingly, but would it have been willingly if you didn't have your AMC movie pass?
I don't know. Maybe if I didn't have a podcast and I didn't have a movie pass, maybe not. But we needed content, and again, like the other movies were pretty solid. So it's nice to see good movies coming out again, or at least serviceable movies, that weren't necessarily as affected as everything else was by the pandemic and the writer's strike. I saw a recent interview with Zach Galifianakis where he was like, yeah, Lilo and Stitch was terrible. I couldn't improvise because of the strike. So I just read what was on the page. And that has jaded my view on most new movies coming out lately. So I have been full on raw dog in these movies with no not watching any
No
trailers.
protection. No.
Not well that and not watching any trailers that I don't see in a theater. I'm not covering my eyes and ears if I'm sitting in the theater, but I'm usually not on time, so that's a help. Yesterday, when I watched this, AMC started at 25 minutes after posted showtime, so plenty of time to laze my way to the theater. But in general, I didn't go in with any expectations other than I was trying to figure out where they were shoehorning this in, and when it took place, or if this was the continuation or whatever, because I, much like you, wanted to see or understand how the characters that I now enjoy after watching 4 movies are involved in this story, and figured it out.
So before you tell us how you figured it out, I would love for you to grace us with your version of the plot.
Dad tries to get away and doesn't get far. Homecoming reveals a secret, and Grandpa gonna die.
Wait, who's Grandpa? Oh, yeah, no, sorry, Grandpa. All right. Sorry, I was trying to figure it in with the great plot that you had right there. So
I
yeah,
thought that was solid.
it is solid. It is
Mentioned
solid.
you mentioned the vague synopsis of the first Wick movie, so in homage to that, that was for you.
There was quite a bit of buzz going around with this. So you have Ana de Armas. She is capable of action. If we rewind and go back to The Gray Man, which Bond movie was it that she was in?
The
I
more
can't
recent
remember.
one, she was good in it.
Yeah, it was great,
Yeah.
great. And she can handle herself. She enjoys that type of work and she can pull it off and she's very intense with it. She's very small in stature in comparison to all the people that she's going to be going up against, but it fit with the character of Eve and her being a ballerina. So it's kind of interesting to see where this was coming from. But the big thing for me was just the action, and because I hold John Wick to such a high regard, to me that they set the bar for going forward for outstanding stunt work. So I was just skeptical. I was afraid. I'm very protective of the John Wick universe, and that's why I never really talked about the Continental. I didn't want to even mention it because I didn't want people to watch that thinking that was John Wick. Like, oh, I don't know why you like those movies because this series was horseshit. Sure, Mel Gibson is in it and he does a fantastic job of playing a prick and a villain. No surprise there. It just wasn't something I'll never ever do all day or even mention or recommend to anybody. Even if they're a John Wick fan, I won't recommend it.
I
But
mean, you're getting me to think about it with the Mel Gibsoning and all the other things.
if you don't care about it being connected to the John Wick universe, it's serviceable. It has an interesting plot, a little bit out there, and the fight scenes are okay. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it. Peacock, sorry, you came out with trash, and I just can't endorse it. But what was your feeling about the movie, and how was your mood kind of going through the scenes with everything?
The opening action scene was really solid. Really, it set the stage. I'm like, oh, okay, we're getting right to it. Okay, let's just go. And I liked the way they kind of developed the story, and they had a twist coming towards the end. They dropped some very strategic lines in it, and that got me going. Like the sister thing, when they mentioned it at the beginning, I'm like, oh, the sister is going to be a thing later. They said that very loud. So it was, it was good. And to see it be just similar to the others in a way, right? To hit a lot of the same, you know, color palette, lighting, and weaponry. I was stoked. What was your first impressions?
Yeah, that first fight scene, I felt like the first John Wick movie again. I'm like, oh, it is on. If this is the first scene, there's no way they're gonna let off the gas and it's just be like cruising the rest of the way. Like, no, they're gonna amp it up. I didn't realize how much they were gonna amp it up, but yeah, Eve's dad, played by Diego from Umbrella Academy. I don't know if you've ever watched that, but that's kind of a cool show on Netflix that wrapped up. But David Castaneda, I believe is his name. He plays a badass in Umbrella Academy, so it was cool to see him. My wife actually recognized him, like, oh, it's the dude from Umbrella Academy. Oh, so he's gonna fuck some people up. When I saw the Ruska Roma tattoos on his back, I was like, ooh, he's a bad motherfucker. Let's see what happens. But how much of a badass can you be in comparison to John Wick? So that's kind of what I was thinking in my head. Well, how are they going to bring Keanu back in this? Is that going to be his brother? I was actually, I mean, technically, because it is the Ruska Roma and they're all one big family and their tribe, uh, that is family, but I thought it was going to be more of like a relative of that. But then I kind of remembered, like, oh yeah, he did say he was an orphan, so he came to the Ruska Roma. But you hit on some really great things that I'm always impressed about in the John Wick movies is the lighting. They really set the mood and it looks fucking good. Even the part where Ana de Armas is wearing that huge ass fur coat and she's going into like the little ice bar, it was so cool to see the ice bar and like their breath just, I don't know if you've ever been to an ice bar before, but that is so cool. And that's exactly what it's like. You feel so awesome in these big fucking, fur coats, and you could see your breath and you're sitting there drinking, and it's just a good time. And I was thinking, like, yeah, this is an awesome little scene that we have here, and the action just gets amped up in every fucking scene after that. So, yeah, really good stuff on the lighting. The music, they played a lot of familiar music, especially when Keanu came back in. So I was super happy about that. It was nostalgic for me.
What?
And
Keanu came back in?
yeah, right? Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed that? And, he was at the premiere. He was on, I think he was on the movie posters and some of them, but it was
Oh, he
good
was.
stuff. It wasn't as obvious as Ralph Macchio being in Karate Kid Legends,
Hmm.
because you knew he was going to be in the movie because they plastered his fucking face on the poster. But yeah, it was good. I was happy.
One of the things that I noticed early on was how they decided that red smoke was going to be a thing that dude used. I just thought that was so cool. I'm like, oh, it's a little different. It's kind of
Yeah,
ominous. I'm kind of a fan.
it was cool. I was just wondering, like, I'm pretty sure that affects his vision too, though. Like it was awesome. It was a very cool ambiance addition, but I was like, dude, you're popping smoke and you're walking through the smoke as if like, do you just have like surgical implants in your eyes? That's what I was thinking. But like, hey, he's a badass. I get it. That's his thing. So sure, not it wasn't Martha by it, but I was like,
Mhm.
pretty sure it works both ways.
Well, and then they softly landed us back in the world of Wick, right? Because we got that old semi-German guy that nobody really recognized, and we're like, what is this? Are
The
we really
Irish guy
doing?
that
Is
happens
he?
to be
I
playing a
don't know,
German
man.
guy.
Yeah,
Gabriel
right.
Byrne, man, like
Well, but he
super
was
famous
playing a
Irish
German
actor.
guy.
Right, right. It's
Yeah,
kind of crazy. I was wondering why did they get Gabriel Byrne for that? Why didn't they just get like Christoph Waltz or something? That he would have
Christoph
been
Waltz
awesome in
isn't
that.
touching this movie. There's
Oh,
no Oscar nod for him in this.
he would absolutely love it. Have you seen
Mm.
some of the shit that he's been in? It's pretty awful. Like, too bad that he's such a great actor and he got such shit roles after Inglorious Bastards.
I would
Oh man,
say that kind of started to be like, oh, what? I don't want to learn about a new bad guy. Like, where's the? And then
sure.
they shift it. Winston comes in. They shoot over. Angela Houston's back. Like, they really sandwich it in the middle of the Wick movies, which is not something you see done a lot unless you're the Lion King 1.5, where you get a different view. But I kind of dug that we saw what was going on in the time, and they dragged every little bit of life out of John Wick. There's a small period that's not covered in the movies. Let's do that part. Um, but they put her in. They showed what the ballerinas were doing, that she was rehearsing and practicing, and yeah, I thought that it did a good job of the deep dive there.
I thought there was going to be a little bit more about Angelica Houston's character just because you see her get sliced and diced in Parabellum, John Wick 3. And you never know what happens to her after that. Is she dead or
Well, all they did was put a sword
not?
through her two hands. That was it.
Oh, you're right. I'm thinking of Lawrence Fishburne.
And
So
he
yeah,
lived.
but she's never mentioned again after it, and you would think that there would be some type of closing the loop of that character. So I was not super confused by it, but I was just like, okay, I was waiting for her to get offed, and that is what starts Eve's character and her descent in the underworld. Granted, she's in the Ruscaroma, but at the same time, she
Mhm.
doesn't go full on killer. But I like the way that they kind of work that out to where she has like her first test, and it was a cool test. Like it was very similar to the Bourne series, where David Webb ends up just shooting this stranger, this stranger with a bag over his head. And I thought that was kind of a cool thing to where it's like, all right, we're gonna have a gun race. Whoever can get their gun set up first and kill the other one, you pass the test. So that was a really cool instance for me. You like seeing a hero's journey? I love seeing a killer's journey. I love seeing them becoming either more accustomed or used to the killing or just becoming more proficient at it just because I love action and that's just what gets me going. So, yeah, I love that. But
But she wasn't a killer. She was the protector. She was
she
the
killed
guardian angel,
so
if you
many.
will.
She
Oh
killed
no, she
so many
killed a bunch of
people.
bad people. I killed a lot of people, but they were all bad.
So wait a second. You're saying she's not a
No, she
she's
is.
not the same as Harry Tasker in True Lies. That's for
But
sure.
she's
That
not Keanu though. She's not the Baba Yaga. She's not an
right.
assassin. She's like the team that goes and extricates.
And that's another interesting thing because obviously like everyone can't just be a hitman in the
And
John Wick universe,
I
right?
love that because it created levels. It was like, oh, bunch of killers. They kill everywhere. But now there's levels. Like you're really developing the mythos in a way that apparently the Continental series did not, according to my esteemed co-host.
And everyone else, all the other 8 people that saw it. So,
Eh,
um, the yeah, so I mean, you're right in the sense because she's kind of fighting against her nature, and even though it's in her blood that her entire family is killers, she even came from a secluded area in the mountains, and they're a whole village of killers.
it's the opposite of a
The
hippie commune.
yeah, right. That would be some dangerous shit. If we ran into something like that, you might find me there, number one. But number two, like, goddamn, that would be fucking dangerous and really bad. Overall, I think it was great that they brought Keanu back in because now you get to see a little bit of familiarity. And same thing with Ian McShane as Winston and Sharon. So it was really cool to see those characters, and I think it helped progress the plot nicely because you get a little bit of the familiarity of like, oh, I know him. I'm going to listen and make sure I pay attention because this is going to be very important. And of course it does because Winston is always he's the good guy in this crazy, crazy world, but he has a very strict code and he always follows it and he will always help the people that are meant to be helped. You know, like he'll follow the rules, but he doesn't necessarily go out of his way to help those said pieces of shit. That's where it's kind of like an interesting dichotomy of like, okay, well, is there good and bad in this, or is it just bad and worse? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there's levels, right? I think Winston um is helping his own house essentially because if you remember at the end of Wick 4, he was uh part of that Russian group, whether he was John Wick's dad or not. Um
He
it,
wasn't, but
he
I don't-
says
he's not. He absolutely isn't.
"Mm, that's not for you to determine."
Oh,
But
it's for me to determine because I know
mm,
definitely not. He
either
is
way,
an orphan.
either way, they're figuring out the rest of it, but I think that he's, trying to safeguard this girl against what, he knows isn't the best. He wants her to pick the path as opposed to be forced down it because he knows that it's going to be better. It's the same thing he did with John, you would guess.
So is Winston like the ultimate enabler then? Because really, is it a good thing to take a little girl and drop her in a house of assassins, or at least people being trained to be assassins
My God, the
or
front door was
ballerinas?
unlocked the whole time.
They say that, but it's not legit. That's the crazy thing is like in John Wick 3, he goes back to the Risk Aroma and he hasn't been back in a while. And he's yes, they give him passage, but at the same time, it's just like, huh, this is kind of a shit family. This is a cult. It's a killing cult that all they do is judo, weapons training, and ballet. That's all that they do, and a little bit of jujitsu in there as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's for the good and bad. Now, I have no problem with this, but for some viewers out there who like the just good versus evil, is Eve a good person? No, not at the same time. Victim of circumstance? Maybe, but at the same time, it's also in her blood and her genes. So where do you draw the line? And she killed a lot of people in horrific fashion, which I want to go back to that. So let me ask you this. Is Ana de Armas as Eve a believable killer within like the first third of the movie?
I don't know what a believable killer is. I don't know. I think that I enjoy the fact that she had trouble at the beginning, right? That she struggled a little bit because that's more realistic than picking up a lightsaber and dueling the most powerful Jedi in the or dark Jedi in the galaxy. So she had some learning curve involved. There were some bumps and bruises, but for me, it all started to peak with the grenade scene where it
Yes.
just got brutal as fuck. And I was like, okay, this is this may be better than any of the Wick movies.
Oh, okay.
Like the
Disagree.
grenade scene, and just from a self-injury point of view and a risk perspective, like she blew up the fucking floor beneath her. It was legit. And then the flamethrowers, of which I would argue were better than any of the Wick fights. I was like,
Mm.
holy fucking shit, the flamethrowers.
Not believable in my opinion. The flamethrower was cool. So
Mm-hmm.
all right, I will say that I was down for all of the action throughout the entire movie. The grenade scene, I'm glad that you said that because that was going to be my answer. I was like, now I know what fight like a girl means. You take a bunch of grenades because you need to equalize this shit and just have at just go ahead, have fun. And that was such a sweet scene. Like I've
Dude,
not seen a grenade scene like that ever. And I was
No.
thinking to myself, like, holy shit, they are doing it. Len Wiseman, and depending on what Chad Stahelski
Hmm.
shot as well, because he came in for some reshoots on some stuff just to kind of button some things up. But Chad Stahelski did this in a very, very professional way without shitting on Len Wiseman. He basically said, on John Wick, we had a lot of time, very little money, or something to that effect. But then as the movies went on, he had a lot of time and a lot of money. Len Wiseman had a little money and a little time. So that's what his explanation was, is to him not going in to redo or fix the movie, but just to have gained back a little bit more of the time that Len Wiseman did not have. And I thought that was super awesome because Chad
I
Stahelski, he
mean,
could have just been like, this was my thing and this is my baby. So I wanted to make sure that the action was done right. He totally could have said that and everyone would have been like, respect, totally get it.
well, what did
But
he fix? Because there's three action scenes in this movie that made me go, holy shit,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's the grenades, there's the flamethrowers, and then there's when she goes fucking Happy Gilmore on those dudes and fucking cuts their neck with a fucking skate. And not once, she's using them like fucking nunchucks and maces and puts one into a dude's skull. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. It was pretty sweet. Now, if they would have called this movie The Ice Princess, then that would have been pretty awesome too. That would have been a little too on the nose, but at the same time, John Wick killed someone with the pencils and he wasn't a school teacher. So I guess this is her pencil skates. Um, but yeah, that I don't know what Stahelski actually did. I'm sure it'll come out, or maybe it's somewhere out there on the internet. So internet, do your thing. But it was all solid. I don't
Hmm.
know if there was a poor action scene. If anything, it was the very first scene with Eve's dad that was the weakest. And I say that just by default, and it's not because it was a weak scene, just because in comparison to everything else, they
Yeah.
amped up every action scene after the first one.
Yeah,
So,
even when she's duct taping a knife to her gun, and you're like, how is this little person not going to impale herself on this knife? Like they made that so cool. Like
yeah.
thrust, turn, shoot. It was just legit.
That was a thing that she does very, very well. She does the part. She plays the part of an efficient killer and someone who will improv, like an assassin with improv, which John Wick absolutely is, with killing people with a pencil
Mhm.
and everything that he can, a book, everything. That's where I was like, yes, this is a John Wick movie. So I was super happy about that, and they didn't skimp out on the violence because that's another thing I
No,
was concerned about.
no. It was more brutal, I think, than the other Wick movies by far. Like
Yeah,
burning people alive and literally exploding people. Now, given the grenade scene, there will be a ton of shrapnel, and a table is not going to protect you from an active grenade, right? Like she's not surviving that fight. But you know what? I don't think she's surviving any of it. So let's fucking go.
yeah.
I don't think
It
that flamethrower's lasting that long. But yo, tell me that didn't look like the Boring Company flamethrower that Elon made. I was like, oh, Elon's gonna love this. Not that I
I
want Elon to be
was
happy at all in life, but
I was wondering what she was saying cool too. Like
yeah,
I think that was like her Keanu, yeah, because that's all that he says in the John Wick movies. So I would love to see her in other movies just say that line, just
cool.
continue on. That's her John Wick line. But yeah, I think it was like a really good overall fast-paced movie, and I was not worried about how long is the movie going. Is it too short? Is it too long? I think the pacing, and yes, there wasn't a whole lot of story there, but there were story elements that even the most nitpicky of movie critics can at least appreciate. Some may say they were going through the motions for it, but no, I think they shined a light on exactly what they needed to and exactly what people wanted to see out of a movie that was associated with the John Wick series.
Dude, there was more story to this movie than Wick 2, Wick 3, or Wick 4.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, and
absolutely.
it was a full origin story, and now they have a character that they've proven can at least swing with Wick, that they could do a whole ballerina, like Ballerina 2, Ballerina 3, Ballerina 4. Like they could keep going. They could do the exact same Wick storyline too. Now she gets out. Oh, then I get dragged back in. Right? Like there's a whole thing, but I honestly like don't have a lot bad to say about this. Like it was long, it wasn't too long. You didn't lose me in any of the action. John Wick always felt like it was trying to recreate the Bruce Lee thing of climbing the tower and fighting people at the different levels of this movie. Then she's fighting through this village of fucking people. And you didn't think that they'd give her that same like John Wick slow and steady wins the race, go through it and get through it thing, but she's fucking rocking it, man. And it was cool. It was definitely cool. It was definitely a love story to that franchise in general. And then you got actual fucking Baba Yaga in it, man.
Speaking of Keanu as John Wick, were you happy with his involvement in it, and did it make sense to you?
I thought it was great to see that character show empathy towards a peer, because in all the other movies he doesn't really show a ton of respect to peers. He shows a lot of bullets to him, right?
I'll say he does show professional courtesy quite a bit to people.
Well, I
So
enjoyed that. I enjoyed that he was, he gave her space. He didn't just fucking kill her. He was constantly trying to uh, um, help her in the way that it took him so long to learn. He wasn't mentoring on killing, he was mentoring on living. And that
yeah,
I thought was pretty sweet.
I love the fact when he has his rifle and his scope set up. It totally reminded me of Willem Dafoe's character in the first John Wick movie.
Yeah, that's a good
I
call.
loved
Deep
Marcus.
pull.
Yeah, Marcus was the sweetest, awesomest character, and I wish there was more of him. And so that's kind of like, okay, so John Wick is Marcus at this point.
So they
And
basically made John Wick, but with a girl now.
yeah, I guess, yeah.
Shit. Now
Yeah.
it's
But
Martha and me.
it's
Damn it.
fine. It's 100% fine. But the involvement, I was pleasantly surprised with that too. I knew he was going to be in it, and I saw from a few of the previews that obviously he has some action scenes with Ana de Armas, and she's firing at him. So I was like, what is the story here going into the movie? I was like, why are they fighting? Because I don't think that should be the case. And Wick dominates her. Like
Oh
it's not
yeah.
like he's having a struggle. He's just trying to kind of diffuse the situation, and luckily she listens. So it's cool that he gives her like, all right, you got till midnight, go wild. I know what you have to do. I understand. And so there's that mutual respect of like, I've been in your shoes before, but I'm giving you a path of you can leave, you can literally just go and you don't have to finish this. But here's the kicker on that. So she chooses to stay and she ends up killing the bad guy, but now at the end of the movie, she's a $5 million bounty on her head. Was it worth it? Or you put your flip thing down, flip it and reverse it? What do you think?
I mean, I think that she wanted the vengeance that she craved and she got it. Much like John wanted the vengeance that he craved.
Did it twice. He did it twice too.
He
And
did it
that's
more
when
than
all the
twice.
shit.
He did it
Well,
so many times. So much
yeah.
vengeance.
He killed the people, but the main guy he killed twice. Or well, if you count three. So you got Vigo, his son, Alfie Allen, and then you've got Santino in the second movie, where that was like the shocking headshot that he does inside the Continental. It was like, oh my
Hmm.
God, you are fucked. You are royally fucked now.
Hmm.
I didn't think that from Eve's perspective. But then, she's sitting there watching the ballet and everyone gets the text messages. Eve Macaro, $5 million, bounties on her head, cut to credits.
Well,
So
I like that she went to the ballet and saw her former friend, right, doing her ballet thing. That she
yeah,
was
I mean,
actually a ballet dancer.
she did say she was the best dancer there, so
But I just
obviously
thought
they're
I
gonna see.
love that one thing about this movie is they didn't cheapen any. of the previous scenes. Like the writing was spot on.
I
I love a good
guess.
callback, Dan. You know that.
Yeah. I guess it was just, I saw it coming. I don't think it's believable, but at the same time, I don't know what type of connections the Ruska Roma have. And if they get a cut on the back end, like, hey, she's not cut out for assassin work, but hey, she can go dance for you if we get 20% of the profits, that
They're
I'm
her
wondering
agent.
like what those arrangements and agreements are because you think she's
Mhm.
dead. But at the same time, you see her at the end of the movie, which
Yeah.
is nice. It is a nice callback, but yeah, it just makes you think. You can't think too hard during a Wick movie because your brain will just melt. It just won't make sense. So, but that being said, too, with overall comparing it to the other movies in the Wick universe, that's something I want to see. Like, I don't want your official ranking, but I think it's worthy to stay up there. Yourself?
Oh, it's in the top half,
Okay.
right? I like the first one best because I think it's just
Yeah,
clean.
it is
I
great.
also
It's a great
like
movie.
four a lot. Um, three is meh. Two is kind of meh. So I
Mm,
would put this above two and three. Like they're not
okay.
meh. They're good. But like I don't hate the people that he kills at the end of those two. Maybe two. Three I
Yeah,
think is
too.
the
He's a
weakest one.
fucking
Three I think is the weakest, but that's because it's a half a movie. Essentially, right? It's half a movie.
sure, sure. Yeah, it's all surprising, and I guess I shouldn't have been that surprised when this movie ended the way that it did, because with the exception of one, they never really end happy. So like there's always some type of pressing issue that you're worried about John or what's going to happen to him. So at the end of this movie, she sees the text, $5 million. Not much of a reaction, but she knows it's on. And so I'm thinking like, well, she's fucked, but I can't wait for a sequel. Good God, I
Yeah.
hope people actually go out and see this movie because I want to see a sequel. And I don't know. I guess we'll see if that happens.
I
I
think
think yeah, go ahead.
I think the nice thing about this movie is if it does anything like the original John Wick, which, if you look at the numbers on it, it made just as much domestically as it did internationally. And I think the strong international box, which is not normal, right? It's normally like, you know, 70-30. This was
Yeah.
almost 50-50. And I think that because of its ability to show strong internationally, and now you're going to bring in the like the South American and Central American market because of the who you have in it. I think that you've got a way clear to do a sequel. It's all about if Armas, wants to do it, can do it, and continues in the way that she's doing.
Yeah, it's I'm hoping that's going to be the case. And I guess if you haven't guessed already, I think it's pretty clear as to where this movie will land. But I want to ask you a important question. We ask it every podcast, but when it comes to the ballerina, Mark, can you do this all day?
Yeah. This is one of the first ones this year where it's like a no-brainer. I would watch this again. Um, it is solid. It much like the Wick movies, much like the newer Wick movies and the OG, which I still want to watch again. Like I've been trying to turn it on for a couple days. Um, might do it tonight. But it's one of those like it just works, and it's also like sometimes nice for a movie that you could just like not think about and just watch the visual spectacle that is happening,
Yeah.
right? Um,
And there's a lot. There's a
oh,
lot of it in there.
dude, those three that were like, holy shit. Like, given in the other Wick movies, we had a couple great holy shit kills, but these are full on holy shit sequences. It's
I
impressive.
I know you just watched four, but like I feel like the four is the pinnacle of everything.
Oh, it is. You get the yeah, no, four is solid. I like one because it has the best, it's the most complete story.
Yeah.
But for me, my ranking would go one, four, and this.
Okay.
Easy, easy. So yeah,
I can't
it
complain
automatically
about
goes
that.
all day.
It's I think for me it would be 4, 3, 2, Ballerina, then 1. In terms of like best to worst. And I can't say worst because it's not the movies aren't bad. They're all really good, but I hold them in such high regard. Like someone's got to be in the last place. So the
Mhm.
first one, strictly from an action perspective. Do I enjoy it? Absolutely. I've probably watched that one more than all of them put together. But at the same time, oh man, Hollywood has been craving legit action. The audience has been craving legit action, whether you realize it or not. Everyone wants to see action, just in different formats. So, yeah, that's cool. But so yeah, solid. I can do this all day from you. I can do this all day, 100% sure. You do not have to even ask me because I am the action junkie and I am the John Wick aficionado on this, minus the Continental. But yeah, that is all good for me. But anything else you want to talk about in the movie?
Not really. I mean, most of my iPhone notes from what when I was watching it would had to be all about those three action scenes, and they were enough to make me like pick up my phone and write it down because I knew I was gonna podcast today, so it was like less than 24-hour turnaround. So I'd remember most of it, but man, just those three scenes alone make you want to see it again. So I'm stoked on it. I even came home and told my wife, like, I think you'd like this one. Even though she's not one for like the super gratuitous violence, I thought it all just came together well as a story.
Yeah, I'm wondering how she'd be like, "What the fuck is with this grenade scene? Jesus Christ!"
Oh,
I
but
did laugh during that grenade scene where
mm.
she closes the door and then like there's
And
no
then she
body.
opened
It's
a passageway like it's Zelda, right? Like,
yeah, no
da-da-da-da.
body whatsoever. It's just like bits flown all over the place.
Mhm.
That was hilarious to me. That was like very charming. There's a lot of action sequences, and even it sounds strange to say, but the violence that she commits in some cases is super charming and funny, almost cartoonish, but doesn't quite cross that line of being super like, Deadpool break the fourth wall. Like it just had enough to make a little bit of fun out of it, but at the same time still kept it very serious and kept the pace going throughout the rest of the action scene. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So that wraps it up for another episode of the I Can Do This All Day podcast. Once again, I am Dan the Part-Time Avenger. That is Mark the Resident Jedi.
Hey, y'all, don't forget, like, subscribe, hit us up on any socials at I Can Do This All Day podcast across the board. Let us know your thoughts on the ballerina. Did you like it? Did you not? Where's it rank for you? What other action movies should we review coming up? What else do you want to hear us talk about? And of course, I mean, we can't even argue in this one. There's no argument in this. We both just love this movie. So, yeah, there's no discourse here. Sorry. This was one of the few episodes where we're both thumbs way, way up.